At 82, I've learned a lot about life, but there's one decision I regret more than anything: moving into a nursing home. At the time, it seemed like the smart choice. My family reassured me, saying I'd be well taken care of, that I'd have everything I needed. And I trusted them. But once I got there, the truth hit me hard. It wasn't anything like I had imagined. I know some of you might be considering this option, maybe for yourself, maybe for a loved one. You might think it's the safe and easy path. But before you take that step, I want to share 6 things I wish someone had told me before I moved in. Because here's the reality. Life in a nursing home isn't just about care or convenience. It changes everything. And once you're in, getting out isn't as simple as you might think. So, stick with me until the end. Some of these lessons might shock you. And if you know someone thinking about this decision, this video could be the wake-up call they need. Regret. 1. Losing my independence. The biggest shock wasn't the small room, the scheduled meals, or even the strangers around me. It was the moment I realized I was no longer in control of my own life. Before moving in, I had freedom. I decided when to wake up, when to eat, how to spend my day. I could take a walk whenever I felt like it, cook a meal just the way I liked, or simply relax in my favorite chair with a book. But inside the nursing home, everything changed. My time was no longer mine. Breakfast was served at their time, whether I was hungry or not. Lights out happened on their schedule, even if I wasn't tired. Want to step outside for fresh air? That required permission and patience, because you had to wait until someone was available to assist you. The little choices I had always taken for granted, what to eat, what to wear, what to do, suddenly felt like luxuries instead of rights. I'll never forget my first week there, waking up in a bed that felt unfamiliar, looking around at the cold, empty walls. My books, gone. My favorite chair, gone. All the little things that made my space feel like home, gone. And that's when it hit me. This wasn't my home. The hardest part? Once you lose your independence, getting it back is nearly impossible. At first, you resist. You ask for simple things. But eventually, you stop. You stop questioning. You stop asking. You stop fighting. And without even realizing it, you start losing yourself. So before you or a loved one makes this decision, ask yourself, are you really ready to give up the small freedoms that make life yours? Because once they're taken away, you'll miss them more than you ever imagined. Regret 2. Feeling forgotten. One of the hardest truths about moving into a nursing home. The world doesn't stop for you. It just moves on without you. When I first arrived, my family promised they'd visit often. And at first, they did. My daughter stopped by every week. My grandkids would come on weekends. For a little while, it felt like I still belonged to my old life. But then, life happened. The visits became less frequent. My daughter started calling instead of coming. My grandkids got busy with school, work, and friends. Holidays were the worst. Everyone said they'd visit, but somehow, plans always changed at the last minute. And suddenly, I found myself sitting alone in a common room, watching other residents stare at the door, hoping today would be the day someone remembered them. It's not that my family stopped loving me, but when you're not around every day, it's easy for people to assume you're fine, that you've adjusted, that you don't need them as much anymore. But the truth is, the longer you're in a nursing home, the easier it is to be forgotten. I'll never forget one evening. I sat in my room holding my phone, debating whether to call my son. I didn't want to seem needy. I didn't want to feel like a burden. So I put the phone down, and that's when it hit me. This was my life now, watching the days pass, hoping someone would remember I still exist. So if you're considering a nursing home, ask yourself, are you ready for the loneliness? Because no matter how much your family loves you, once you're out of sight, It's easier than you think to become out of mind. If you've made it this far, comment number 2 below to let me know you're here. And if you haven't subscribed yet, hit that button and turn on the bell so you never miss a video. Now let's move forward. Regret number 3, losing my sense of purpose. When I moved into the nursing home, I thought I was just changing where I lived. I didn't realize I was also changing why I lived. At home, I had routines, responsibilities, a reason to get up in the morning, even the small things, brewing my own coffee, tending to my plants, straightening up the house, made me feel like my life meant something. But in the nursing home, those little moments disappeared. The meals were prepared for me. The cleaning was done by someone else. The plants, they weren't mine anymore. At first, I thought, maybe this is a good thing. No more chores, no more obligations, just rest. But after a few weeks, something felt missing. The days started blending together. I wasn't living. I was just existing. And I wasn't the only one. I remember George, 84 years old, a carpenter his entire life. Back home, he was always fixing something, building projects in his garage. His hands never stopped moving. But here, no tools, no projects, nothing to create. One day he looked at me and said, "I feel useless." And I knew exactly what he meant, because when you no longer have something to work on, something to care for, life starts to lose its meaning. Your mind slows down, your body follows, and soon you're just another name on a list. Another resident in a place where time moves, but nothing really changes. So if you're thinking about a nursing home, ask yourself, what gives your life meaning? Because once you move in, finding purpose isn't just about filling time. It's about fighting to stay alive. If you're still here, comment number 3 below to let me know you're watching. And if you haven't yet, subscribe and turn on the bell so you never miss a video. Regret number 4, declining health faster than expected. Before I moved into the nursing home, I thought I was doing pretty well for my age. I wasn't running races, but I could still take care of myself. I could walk, cook my meals, and even manage the little things. Grocery shopping, stretching, keeping my legs moving by walking around the house. But as soon as I settled in, things changed fast. At first, it seemed like a break. Meals brought to me. No more standing in the kitchen, and whenever I needed something, all I had to do was push a button. Someone was always ready to help. But here's the thing I didn't expect. The less I did for myself, the weaker I became. I stopped moving as much. My legs started feeling stiffer. I found myself sitting more than I ever used to. Soon, just getting out of a chair started to feel like a struggle. The strength I had worked hard to keep was disappearing quicker than I ever thought possible, and I wasn't alone. I saw it happening to others too. People who used to walk on their own were now in wheelchairs. Those who had been independent now needed help with things they used to do easily. The more help we got, the more we seemed to need. I think about my neighbor, Alice, 81 years old, full of life when she first arrived. She'd go for walks around the facility every day, saying she wouldn't let age slow her down. But after a few months, I saw her walking less and less. She started using a walker, and eventually a wheelchair. One day, she turned to me and said, "I don't know when it happened, but I feel like I aged 10 years in just a few months." And that's exactly how it felt. When you stop using your body, you start losing it. In a place where everything is designed to make things easier, it's easy to forget that movement isn't just for convenience. It's essential to staying healthy. If I'd known how quickly I'd lose my strength, I would have pushed myself harder. I would have fought to stay active, to keep moving, even when I didn't feel like it. If you're thinking about moving into a nursing home, ask yourself, will you still have the drive to keep your body strong when everything is set up to make life effortless? Because once you slow down, getting back up isn't as easy as it seems. If you're still watching this video and finding these insights helpful, please comment number 4 below to let me know you're with me. And if you haven't subscribed yet, go ahead and hit that button so you don't miss out on future videos. Your support helps us keep creating content to inform and inspire you. Now, let's move forward. Regret number 5. The loss of privacy and dignity. Before moving into the nursing home, I didn't realize just how much of my privacy I would lose. At home, I had my own space. My bedroom was my sanctuary, where I could close the door, be alone, and do things my way. I could take a nap when I felt like it, have some quiet time, or enjoy a meal without anyone watching. But in a nursing home, privacy is a rare commodity. From the moment I arrived, it felt like I was constantly being observed. Nurses and staff coming in and out, regular room checks, and shared spaces where it was impossible to find solitude. Even the simplest things, like getting dressed or using the restroom, often required someone's assistance. It wasn't that they weren't helpful, they were just doing their jobs. But when you've spent your entire life doing things for yourself, it's hard to let go of that independence. I remember struggling, especially in the first few days, with how much I had to rely on others. Want to take a shower? You might have to wait for a staff member to become available. Need to go to the bathroom? Sometimes pressing the call button meant waiting a lot longer than you'd like. Even meal choices felt limiting. If you didn't like what was on the menu that day, well, too bad. Then there were the roommates. Not everyone gets a private room, and sharing space with someone you didn't choose can be frustrating. I was fortunate to have a kind and understanding roommate, but I heard stories from others who weren't so lucky. Some had roommates who were noisy, untidy, or struggled with memory issues, making it almost impossible to get a good night's sleep. No matter how hard you try to make your room feel like home, it's never truly yours. Dignity is one of the hardest things to lose, and I didn't fully understand just how much of mine I'd have to give up until I was already there. When people knock but don't wait for an answer before entering, when you're spoken to like a patient instead of a person, when your routine is dictated by a schedule you didn't set, it changes you. You start to feel less like yourself and more like just another name on a list. If you're thinking about moving into a nursing home, ask yourself, are you ready to let go of the privacy and control that you've had your whole life? Because once it's gone, it's harder than you think to get it back. If you're still with me and finding this video helpful, please leave a comment saying number 5 below so I know you're still here. And if you haven't subscribed yet, hit that button and turn on the bell so you never miss an update. Your support helps us keep making content that can truly make a difference. Regret number 6. Realizing it's harder to leave than you think. When I first moved into the nursing home, I convinced myself it was only a temporary step. I thought I'd give it a try, see how it went, and if I didn't like it, I could always leave and go back to my old life. What I didn't fully understand was just how difficult it would be to walk away once I settled in. In the beginning, it seemed simple. If I didn't like it, I'd just go back home. But when I thought about it, home wasn't the same anymore. My house sat empty, and I couldn't keep up with maintaining it from a distance. My kids had already started making decisions, selling things they thought I no longer needed, and even talking about renting the house out. When I suggested returning, they hesitated. Are you sure you can handle everything by yourself? Wouldn't it be safer for you to stay here? We just want to make sure you're okay. On top of that, my body had changed. After months in a place where I didn't have to cook, clean, or even walk far, I wasn't as strong as I used to be. I felt less confident in my ability to manage on my own, and that fear kept me from even thinking about leaving. I wasn't alone in this. I met others who thought they could just try the nursing home for a little while, only to realize that leaving wasn't as easy as they imagined. The longer you stay, the harder it becomes to adjust back to life outside. For some, it wasn't an option at all. Once their homes were sold or their savings ran out because of the cost of care, there was no going back. That's the part no one warns you about. Moving in feels like a choice you can reverse, but for most, it's not. Slowly, the nursing home becomes your entire world. The life you once knew, your house, your routine, your freedom, starts to feel like it belongs to someone else. If you're thinking about moving into a nursing home, ask yourself, are you ready for the possibility that leaving might not be as simple as you think? Because once you're in, the financial, emotional, and even physical barriers to leaving can be much harder to overcome than you expect. If you've made it this far and are finding these insights helpful, leave a comment saying number 6 below so I know you're still with me. And if you haven't subscribed yet, make sure you hit that button and turn on the bell for notifications. Your support helps us keep making content that's both informative and inspiring. Final thoughts. Looking back, I don't regret getting older. What I do regret, however, is believing that moving into a nursing home was my only option. I walked in thinking it would bring comfort, safety, and an improved quality of life. But instead, I found myself in a world that gradually took away my independence, privacy, my purpose, and even the essence of who I was. Does this mean nursing homes are bad for everyone? Not at all. For some people, they truly need that level of care. But before you make that decision, really stop and think about what you're giving up. Once you step inside, things will never be the same. If I could go back, I would have fought harder to stay in my own home, found more ways to get the support I needed without giving up my freedom, and made sure that I absolutely needed to move in before making such a permanent choice. If you're facing the same decision, I urge you to ask yourself, is this the best choice for me, or is it just the one that seems easiest right now? Because the life you have today, the routines, the independence, the choices, is worth holding on to for as long as you possibly can. Thank you for being with us today. We'd love to hear your thoughts. Drop a comment below and share something you've learned and how you plan to apply it in your own life. Your feedback really matters to us and motivates us to keep going. If you found this video valuable, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share with others. Your support is what helps us continue creating content that informs and inspires. Thanks for watching, and I look forward to seeing you in the next video.